Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It's myself, George, joined once more by Tate I got it right this time, for another Star Wars video. We are, of course, building up to the return of Obi-Wan Kenobi, being released in 2 weeks today on Disney Plus at the time of this video going out. And we've got another tier list video for you. Our first Star Wars tier list video, which is always a feisty, controversial topic. But before we get into all of that, how are we doing tonight, Tate?
We are doing good, ready to rank some lightsaber duels and talk about just kind of one of the coolest elements of Star Wars, I'd say. One element that has carried across from kind of when the first film was released and is still incredibly popular today. And we'll see kind of, maybe when we do this list, we'll find out that we prefer them as they get kind of over time and stuff like that, and technology gets better, or maybe there's a limit to that. Maybe there was a golden period of lightsaber duels. Maybe there wasn't. We'll find out today. And of course, we'll want to also see your thoughts at home on your favorite lightsaber duel, because we love to kind of communicate with you guys. So please comment below and tell us exactly what your favorite lightsaber duel of all time is, out of the ones that we have today on the list. We will explain why these are the ones on the list in a minute as well. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, do the normal things, share the video, start a discussion. Also, you can find out where all of our videos are going to be coming out and stuff like that. Everything that we've got coming up during Star Wars month and beyond, all the other things that we have going on our various different social media. So that is at cinema_savvy on Twitter, facebook.com, cinemasavvy, and letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy as well. Also, go down into the description to find a t-shirt or a jumper from TeePublic.
Yes, everybody, please. And as well, with those, I should have said, if you want to get involved with the tier list, do not just comment. In the description, we have a link to the exact same tier list we'll be doing as we've done on the other videos on the channel. We're not just using somebody else's. I'm sure this one's probably been done before. But we make our own. It's our own images and everything, so we can do it our way. So link below, share it, send it to us, tweet it to us, whatever you want to do. Get involved with your tier list. And of course, if you disagree, please disagree very politely and very curiously, because I don't think anyone's going to have the same opinions on every lightsaber duel, which I guess is a really cool sort of, not segue onwards, but just talking about this tier list video. Obviously, if you're not familiar with the concept, Tate will go through it, but do you also want to mention something different we'll be doing this time around compared to normal?
Yes. So previously on is it one time we've done it on the channel tier list before?
Three or four. This is the fourth, I think. I think this is the fourth.
Yeah, this might actually. Is this my first one? I can't even know. I've done one before.
You definitely done Bond.
I've done the Bond one. Yes, of course. But previously we've all done our individual ones on the channel and stuff like that. This time we are smashing heads together. We have to come to a decision at some point, and we are going to create the ultimate Cinema Savvy tier list so that we are kind of somewhat agreeing on where things are at the end, because we think it would make for a nice discussion. We think it would make for a nice little kind of natter about all the different lightsaber duels. Instead of having our own personal opinion, let's have the Cinema Savvy opinion about all of the lightsaber duels. So, George, if you pull up the tier list, we will explain through how this is going to work. Starting at the very, very top, we have Thede's Palace. That is the GOAT tier. That is absolutely top tier. So if we think that is the best lightsaber duel of all time, then that will be up there. Then underneath that, we have the Jedi Temple. A little bit kind of that's near top tier. That's almost perfect. We then have Maz's Castle, which is kind of middle of the road, kind of could be better. Then we have Jabba's Palace. We're starting to get into the depths here, kind of not the best. And then we have the worst of the worst, the Sarlacc Pit. You do not want to end up there. Also, on each row, we will also rank them going from left to right, left being best, right being the worst. George, do you want to explain the lightsaber duels down at the bottom?
Yes, so everybody on your screens, and if you've got the link up doing it as well, we have these picked in a very specific manner. So as we did with the Star Wars Top 10 ranking video, which I want to give a massive thank you out to everybody for commenting on that and getting involved with that. Everyone that submitted videos as well, really appreciate it. Great fun, great way to celebrate May the 4th. And of course, Reboots From Hell, we're going to plug that too. But we are only going to be looking at the live action films for this. Now, I know in the ranking we had Clone Wars movie. We don't have it on this. Maybe Clone Wars would have its own feature one day, I say on the spot. I'd need to actually calculate that. There'd be tons. Segueing aside, so we've gone with each lightsaber duel from the films. There is a grand total of 15. And we've set out some, not minor rules per se, but we'll go through each one. And there may be a question about one potentially missed out, or one maybe being on here that shouldn't be on here. So we'll go through them each very quickly, and then we'll kickstart properly after. But as you can see, first up we have Maul and Qui-Gon, the first one from Phantom Menace. What? The Phantom Menace. And then of course we've got Duel of the Fates, Anakin and Obi-Wan versus Dooku, Yoda versus Dooku, Anakin Obi-Wan versus Dooku again. Revenge of the Sith. Kenobi Grievous, Windu and the Jedi Masters against Palpatine, Yoda Palpatine, Anakin Obi-Wan, Darth Vader Obi-Wan, Luke, Darth Vader v Luke, Luke versus Darth Vader again, Kylo versus Rey, the Throne Room scene from Episode 8, and the final duel from Episode 9. Not the final duel, it's technically a bit of the film, but it's dubbed the final duel. And we'll go into them properly each, but what I will say, for any curious questions, we did not include the visions, so that could cover Episode 5 on Dagobah, with the pit, where obviously Luke kind of fights Vader, but it's Luke. And we've avoided Last Jedi, the Luke Kylo scene, similar-ish with being a vision / force power. And you may be thinking, does the throne room count? That is always a curious question. We have deemed it so. It is regarded as the official and only duel for Star Wars Episode 8. Now, that could play into our opinions, but we'll be getting to there. And I guess it's worth saying that order we're going to do these, we're going to go sequentially from Episode 1 through to Episode 9. I just had to double check, man. We definitely didn't have any lightsaber duels in Rogue One or Solo, but we did get lightsabers technically make an appearance in each of those. But before we kickstart this, do we have anything else to say about lightsaber duels? I don't think so, but I love the fact I've already teased a potential second video. But I really need to... There's a lot of animated shows. There's a lot of animated lightsaber duels.
All I want to say is kind of the importance of lightsaber duels on cinema. Before lightsaber duels, we had sword fights. That's basically what it was. It was theatre that was done through sword fights. As soon as lightsaber duels came in, it became a pop culture phenomenon. Like, honestly, probably one of the biggest things from Star Wars to kind of come out of Star Wars was the idea of a lightsaber. It was the idea that every kid would want one. I'm sure, George, you had a lightsaber growing up. I had Luke's lightsaber, so there you go.
I have a tragic backstory with all mine, if you're curious to hear it.
Go on, I want to hear your backstory.
I had about 7 or 8.
Wow.
Maybe 9 or 10. Okay, and this is what's really sad. So, there's photos of me on Instagram with the Episode 1 Darth Maul. I got Count Dooku's Episode 2. I had Anakin spring action lightsaber Episode 3. I had Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan, Yoda, and I think Mace Windu. These are all as kids. These are like 10, 15 pound ones.
Yeah.
And obviously you get to a certain age where you're not into it as much anymore. As it does happen. It happened in my probably like early 10s. Without sounding weird? I don't know if that's the thing. But I got into Doctor Who for a couple of years like everyone else did. Great plug. New Doctor Who been announced this week. And as you hit the nostalgic age, I think I was watching Clone Wars at secondary school. I was like, I'd like to see my lightsabers, not to play with them. I'm an adult. But I'd like to just see them. They couldn't be found in the garage. And it turned out my dad had binned them all without telling me or my mother or any of my sisters. And so they all got binned and I was broken. They're probably all battered and mangled anyway, but a big part of my childhood ruined. Shout out to Lewis, who used to always have lightsaber duels with us. We used to play the Star Wars 3 soundtrack. You know that game, The Floor's Lava? We had that shit on demand. We did that with lightsabers with the Star Wars 3 soundtrack, pretending to be Anakin and Obi-Wan. And I assure you that our age generation did have the best Star Wars childhoods. And that is 100% one of the reasons why. For many great reasons. Sorry to segue. But
no, excellent. Well, we're going to be starting with kind of not quite, well, it means technically it's the prequels. It's our generation of Star Wars. So we're going to be starting off with the first lightsaber duel. Which is Qui-Gon versus Darth Maul. This one's quite a tame one, I feel. This one is it's the precursor to what comes later. And because of that, I don't think we can rate this highly.
No.
Purely because, first of all, Maul only uses one side of his double-sided lightsaber. That's immediately losing points there. You have one of the coolest, if not the coolest lightsaber. You're only using half of it. Sorry, but that's going to take it away. But then even the choreography, it's not a long fight. It's just very, very quick. And yeah, what's your opinions on this fight?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the good soup bean from Adam Driver, isn't it? Like it's we know what we're going to get to next, and on a rewatch, you know what's coming next. But this is like the tease, and I think you get to see a mini duel to keep you occupied. In the meantime, you get Qui-Gon Jinn facing, obviously sets up his death without that sounding too intense. It wasn't quite Qui-Gon's noble end at this point in time, but as you said, it's a tease. Half the blades on a desert as well. They cut some of the scene as well on the date scenes. I think it's fine, but it serves its purpose as not meant trying to be the main one for the film or trying to go all out. So I think if we're jumping into it, I think it's like the epitome of average.
I would say here's the thing. Knowing what's coming later, I'd say it's either high-end Jabba's Palace or low-end
Maz's. Oh, I'd say like low-end Maz's because it serves a purpose, and I don't think it doesn't work.
Well, if we stick it in Maz's to start off with, we know it's going to be moving further. It's going to be moving further down to the right as we go along with Maz's, because I feel like it is possibly bottom end of that. But
yeah, it's interesting. It's a weird one, isn't it? Because again, as you said, it's short as well. It's literally a minute. There was going to be a fight scene on the bridge, which gets cut in the deleted scene. And if anyone had the Phantom Menace video game, it was that music video, the shot of it flying away with Maul, which was really funny now because you can see Qui-Gon's lightsaber on the horizon as the ship flies by. But yeah, we'll come to that.
I'll be honest. I'm very glad we're on the same page to start off with. It's not going to be like. I mean, we may get to one later where it's going to be like you're going to put it as like go to tier like Feed's Palace, and I'm going to be like nah, Sarlacc.
I'm curious as to what that could be. But let's go for one that I'm just going to assume.
Oh yeah, no, just stick it straight up there. I mean, we'll discuss
it there,
and let's discuss it. But
let's talk about Duel of the Fates. One of the greatest pieces of music ever written. Before the fact you can consider it's in a Star Wars film or anything, before the monstrosity that Tottenham Hotspur play it before their games. I don't know how they got that copyright. The bottlers don't deserve that song at all. Oh God, I'm doing this on Friday. This could be awkward. I don't know what the results will be tomorrow. Anyway, football aside, that could look really bad in a day's time or not. Duel of the Fates. You talk.
This is not only one of the greatest lightsaber duels of all time. This is probably one of the greatest fights put to cinema. It's phenomenal. Just for starters, from a person who never watched the trailers for the Phantom Menace, going into this film, I didn't really know much or any context going into this film at all. So when Maul suddenly comes out with one lightsaber that goes one way and then another one that goes, oh my God, just like every time I watch that, chills, actual chills. You just know shit's going to go down. And shit does go down. This is one of the longest Is it the longest lightsaber duel or is that Battle of Heroes?
I think three. It depends if you. I'm sure someone's. I guess 3 is especially if you cut Yoda out. I'd say this. I think 3 is surely the longest.
Okay, but as far as this one's concerned, this is phenomenal. Every single step of this one, whether it is kind of just Qui-Gon and Maul going at it, or whether it's Obi-Wan getting involved as well, all the way throughout. Every single step of it, including the scene where Qui-Gon falls, and then suddenly you've got Obi-Wan in his situation with his one-on-one duel to finish it off. It's just such a fantastic lightsaber duel. And as much criticism as people put towards this film, if there's one bit which they cannot criticize at all, one bit which is like, okay, if it's going to be going up in our top 10s, what's going to save it is this duel here, then that it has to be top tier and nearing the top end of the top tier.
Yeah, you've got to. I think me and you spoke about context, but if I bring in like the actual release of the film context, which I think is quite important for this, there's not been a Star Wars film in 16 years, which doesn't sound a lot now. God, that's just reminded me. But yeah, the gap between 6 and 1's less than Kenobi and 3.
Yeah.
Sorry. This is I mean, obviously, we were toddlers, kids when this came out, and we didn't really understand this until we got older. But that not just hadn't been a Star Wars world. This is the time when you would, the concept of the prequels was all the Jedi are going to be in it. We're going to see all the Jedi fighting. We're going to see the downfall of the Jedi and all this stuff going in. But we didn't know that at the age of 3. We're like, oh look, they're having a fight. And I always really liked Qui-Gon as a kid. He was actually, I'll be absolutely blunt, I preferred Qui-Gon to Obi-Wan for a very long time growing up. To be fair, inherently, there's some completely different characters, but the logic's still there. And, as a kid, Liam Neeson, he wasn't Aslan yet. He wasn't Rajal Ghul yet. I was far too young to see Schindler's List, of course. He wasn't also taken in every action film that came out in Sky Movies after. He was Qui-Gon Jinn, and he inherently is to me. And, you've got to give Lucas credit where the choreography comes into this. He wants to see a duel. Casting Ray Park, I think, is genius, who's obviously a martial artist. Getting Ewan and Liam Neeson all involved in doing the lightsabers, the behind the scenes is watching. But as an actual duel, it works on screen. The visuals work. I guess ironically, we're putting it in Theed Palace, and it technically is in Theed. I don't know if it's in the palace or in the hangar of the palace. Someone, please, with Star Wars Rugby, answer that for me. But I think this is everything you needed from the first Star Wars film coming out in 1999. And again, very often we say it in Star Wars, you see a protagonist die in a duel.
Yeah.
It's happened a couple of times, and we'll be going through them. And I just think, I guess we didn't say this at the start, sorry, or did we? If the duel splits in 2, we'll classify it as 1. So Duel of the Fates is the entire fight up to Darth Maul's death. And,
but I guess the next one is when we get round to it, is going to be 2 separate duels because the players change.
They are separately, completely separate duels. Players change, different story arc pointing. But with this, it's more the fact that Obi-Wan versus Maul around the pit is, to me, the greatest 30 seconds of Star Wars choreography in terms of 2 people trying to kill each other. And you don't get that without the other stuff. So sorry if I've been talking too long about Duel of the Fates. Maybe we'll probably come back to this when we're ranking the other ones that come, if anything comes near it. We'll probably end up having more of a chat about them all.
Yeah.
But if we politely segue there, let's move on to Attack of the Clones.
Yes.
Starting with Anakin and Obi-Wan against Count Dooku. Anakin losing his hand. Obi-Wan losing a chunk of skin, which I've never fully understood still.
Yeah, this one's an odd one because
I've never liked it. I'll be blunt. I was never massively keen on this.
Here's the thing: I prefer it to the part 2. So, I mean, there's that one element. We'll get round to talking about part 2 of this duel in the second, because I feel like this one we do need to talk with the context of part 2. Part 2 being Yoda versus Count Dooku. That one is worse off, and the only fun thing about that is that you finally get to see Yoda with a lightsaber and kind of do his thing, and that wears off very quickly. That's like, oh, that's cool. And then it's just like, okay, what now? Whereas with the other fight, at least it sets up that context and stuff like it has something going for it. I don't think I could put it in silent, but I think Jabba's palace.
No, I'm with you on this. With Jabba's palace. So it never did much for me as a kid, and I'm not going to sit and say, "Oh, this is the duel that came after episodes." After episode 1, it's spit and fair in that capacity. But we don't get a duel at the halfway point. It is the first one we get.
It's once again, it's another 2v1, but it's like
it's just not very interesting.
No, it's not.
And with Dooku, I mean, obviously Christopher Lee didn't do the stunts. So Christopher Lee, I must add, and obviously the stunt double, and obviously it was great to get him in as Dooku, but because we never got to fully explore his relationship at this point in time, again, going contextually, if you're trying to avoid Clone Wars, the concept of Qui-Gon's mentor versus his apprentice should actually be, to me, quite a significant moment. And we get a mention of Qui-Gon in passing, of course, but I just feel that duel never lived up to his rep. And obviously, I guess also the purpose is just to say, Anakin's not ready, he's reckless, blah, 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 and he loses his hand, which is fine. But Dooku is dubbed like the master swordsman of the prequel trilogy, one of the most noble Jedi Knights that turned.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've got a sense of that, if I'm being honest. So to me, it's just, you get cool stuff with the darkness stuff when they cut the lights out and you got the, Anakin, you see the red, the blue, the green, or the coloring and the lighting, which they all did practically, which I think is really cool. But aside from that, it's quite plain for me. And I guess at the time, they all knew the scene that was going to follow, which we can talk about. How do you? I mean, I know we've discussed this. I mean, it's been years since we did those Star Wars reviews. That was pre-Force Awakens, but I'm still the same. I rewatched them all before the ranking video, and I've never been keen on Yoda versus Dooku, and I've never quite put my finger on it because I play a lot of Battlefront, so I've got no issue with Yoda's jumping frog fighting style, but
yeah,
I really liked the scene before. I guess we should also add we're not including like Force battle. I mean, we said it in Visions, but
yeah,
we're not including the Yoda absorbing the lightning or that stuff. I just never really cared. I don't know. As a kid as well as being an adult, I want to say
it's a difficult one because it's definitely worse than a lightsaber fight before it, and the only thing is the novelty of seeing Yoda jumping around, and once you get past that, the actual duel itself is actually quite hard to follow because it's just kind of CG and it's just a bit. It's for me, it's Sarlacc pit. It is honestly Sarlacc pit. It's down in the dumps. I don't rate it that highly.
No, I'm glad you said that. Same here. Listen, I know some people love it, and I think Star Wars Celebration 2 it was a few weeks before this film came out, and they showed the clip up to the lightsaber emerging. I remember the TV spots as a kid when it is cool that he opens his Jedi robe with one hand and uses the Force to collect the lightsaber with the other. The concept of seeing Yoda in a duel is amazing, but I just never cared for it in this film. And it's, to me, that's Attack of the Clones has its issues, has some stuff I really like, and I know it's his anniversary, so I feel a bit bad, but I think being sandwiched between 1 and 3 on the duel side of things is quite tough, and the duels you get in those are very different. So we're again another one we're agreeing on. Let's move. I would say, sorry.
Well, now we're moving into 5 duels in one film. It's a bit of an uptick from the previous films, and we're never going to get back to that rate. I think it was just like, throw every single duel possible into this film. Yeah. Just make it a film.
They needed to.
Duels, yeah.
They needed to. And it's the Clone Wars at this point in time. They're in a war. They're in a literal war. And it makes sense. And I guess we can say we're sticking with the theme of Dooku against Anakin and Obi-Wan together. This time we'll do it together. How do you feel with this? Is it an improvement on Attack of the Clones for you?
It's a big improvement. I think the choreography is better. I feel like the context that's put behind it is better. I enjoy the music better. There's so much going for it, and especially the ending as well. It's so cold-blooded and heartless and sets the tone for the film. You need that from this. I don't think it's a top-tier fight. I don't even think it's a mid-tier fight. And this is why I feel like the first duel between Qui-Gon and Darth Maul needs to move down into Jabba's palace, because I think this is Maz's castle. I think this is the bar. This is the absolute mid-tier fight.
See, it's mid-tier for me. I think the choreography is fine. I don't like the droids coming in. I never really like that.
No.
I know they want to do the whole let's take Obi-Wan out of it to get Anakin one-on-one in for a couple of moments to set up, obviously, the film, which, as you said, actually, it's cold-blooded. You have to off Dooku early to then get the new apprentice. And I think it's the epitome of Maz's castle. I think it's average. It serves its purpose in the film, similar to Maz's castle. I mean,
but it does a very good job of setting up the context. It's high-end or middle Maz's castle, I'd say.
I'd say like solid mid. Yeah, no, I'll put it in there with you. Are we gonna? Should we rank them at the end in each tier, or put them?
You can rank it on the go, can't we?
I mean, it's gonna go here, so it's not a question.
Yeah, it's gonna go there. Yeah.
It's a weird duel. I think I like a lot of the. I mean, it is literally just Count Dooku doing one-liners, I guess you could say. And I guess as well, what's really interesting in these duels is certainly in 3. I know you've seen some of the Clone Wars. I don't think you've seen the entire thing. I don't know if you haven't, because it is a mission.
It's long.
It certainly feels that duel has improved, not upon time, but on the basis of seeing, I guess you could say 140 episodes of cartoon TV before. But to me, I just, again, like the Master Swordsman, we never got out of hand with Dooku. Again, I understand why they can't do that. It's 2005 as well. It's before Clone Wars. But again, George Lucas is going to go into episode 3, and also like everyone else with a bit of common sense. You don't want the the best duel of that film to be the first one. That's a strategic operation to make sure that you don't.
Yeah,
it's like simple. You kind of your main event be usurped. That's all it is.
no.
But if we might come back to a bit. But if we're going to talk about another one,
General Kenobi.
Yeah.
How
did you?
I want to see where you place this first.
I mean, even before I place it, I want to talk seeing this the first time as a kid. I mean, again, me and you were like what, a month apart?
I was going to say absolute hype seeing this as a kid.
Sat at the cinema. Have I told you before about the General Grievous story that I bought an issue of? Well, I didn't buy it, my parents bought it for me, but Total Film back in the day. I know it still runs. Actually, on my desk, without getting contextual, I bought Total Film for the first time in years.
Wow.
Because a certain Obi-Wan Kenobi is on the front cover. Oh. I'm going to leave it sealed, like all the Last Jedi stuff. It was like Revenge of the Sith. New stills. You know that obviously how they got it. General Grievous, ! The photo was of the character, oh god, I forgot his name, who's at the start of Utapau, who the mayor, played by Bruce from Mad Max. And I thought that was General Grievous for like until the day I watched the film. And obviously, you see he's in the trailer with the weird teeth, and I was like, "Oh, that's that General Grievous bloke." Don't know anything about him, wouldn't have read it, don't know who that is. And when you're at the cinema, I was like, "Oh, General Grievous is a droid that coughs, cool." And then you get to the scene, and this droid doesn't have 2, but 4 lightsabers. That was the most radical shit I'd ever. There is no way a 9-year-old, 8-year-old watches that in 2005 at any age and doesn't think that's some of the best shit they've ever seen in their life.
Yeah.
and Obi-Wan Kenobi batters him. So, in terms of hype, I think this is maybe a bit more nostalgia coming at this.
Hype, but honestly, feeds Palace. Actual battle.
Ooh, yeah.
Hype feeds Palace. Actual battle, Jedi Temple, Massa's Castle.
Like low end of Jedi Temple?
Low end Jedi Temple, high end Massa's Castle.
I mean, can you remember seeing it?
I do.
And
then I do you know, I still like, I don't know if it's the hello there and the.
Well, it gave us one of the greatest memes of modern cinema.
Yes. Yeah.
And the anime eyes, for some reason, those extreme close-ups, which I think was cool.
And also, just to finish it off with, so uncivilized. Just, brilliant. Temple.
Let's put Jedi Temple for the time being. Things might change. And then episode 3 is going to be a bloody roller coaster. I'm telling you now.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so this one has to go low. This has to go low. And as much as I love Mace Windu's, I think so. As much as I love Mace Windu's character, as much as I love the context going into it and stuff like that, I mean, you've got to take into context the whole lightsaber battle here, and let's be honest here, Sheev just carves through like everyone.
The power of the corkscrew spin and the screen.
Honestly, like it's high in Jabba's palace for me personally. Like, I know that people are going to say sacrilege and stuff like that, but honestly, I think that this battle is bettered within its own film. I think, given the context, he carves through 4 Jedis way too easy. I know he's meant to be the master Sith Lord and stuff like that, but you watch the way that they actually get killed. It's not anything too special or anything like that. It's just, it's not like a ridiculous move or anything like that. It's just, he strikes them down. And it's a cool ending and it's a cool start, but the actual battle itself isn't as good.
Oh, see, I understand a lot of that. The Jedi Master is great because the image of the 4 Masters rocking up. As a kid, that wasn't that cool. I'm going to be real honest. I really liked Kit. I had a Kit Fisto Attack of the Clones figure, and I always knew him as the Jedi that smiled. I think everyone else did. I love that George Lucas clearly respects him for that. He let him defend like 2. So the other ones get 1 pot shred. It's like Kit Fisto's like, no, you'll get 2 blocks and then you're off, mate. Oh, it's tricky because I understand what you said, and I have seen that discussion before. See, I think the Windu Palpatine stuff is great because the fact that, I guess this is another question. Some people don't like the fact that not just Darth Sidious but Yoda has a lightsaber in these films because we never had that in the originals. Yeah, I've got no issue with either of them having it for the context of the Star Wars prequels, I guess. But the fact that he just fucking hides it up those longs. I mean, his costume in the scene is amazing robes. I mean, how anyone can fight in that is insane. But his things are, I think with Windu, he's a bit of a dick when you really, if you not even Clone Wars, like these films, like he just doesn't trust Anakin, bit mean, bit unfair across the years.
He doesn't trust Anakin. He's right.
Yeah, exactly. Right. He's questioning the chosen one in the same film. But Sam Jackson, I mean, he's pretty bad. He got to behead Jango Fett, I guess. But he got bad motherfucker engraved on his lightsaber, and he got to fight Palpatine. And
you want to put this higher? I want to
put it. I want to put it in Maz's castle because I think it is fine.
If we take, here's the thing, and this is where the context comes in.
You want to move that, don't you?
I want to move that down because I think it's better than that.
I will swap. Hold on, let's
move it down like that.
So that would go there because that's top end Jabbers. I guess
that is top end Jabbers, yeah.
And then we're looking at these. To me,
it's
Windu is a much better duel than that because I think you're offing a character.
Context wise, yes. Actual duel, I'd say Maz's Castle's a better duel. Sorry. I'd say sorry. I'm reading the thing.
So confused.
Sorry. We can cut that.
Here's how I think it's when you've got Windu Palpatine. You're killing the Jedi that's been around for a few films. The second biggest Jedi, I guess, in the prequels on Pro-S after Yoda, and that's the kickstart of these Jedi are all going to die now. And it's like you got to, because we know Yoda's going to survive, but you got to kill Windu first and kill him properly. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, but the Dooku fight has better fighting.
It's
context versus, for me at least, the actual fight.
But they're both because one starts Order 66.
I know. But one technically starts the chain of events that starts Order 66.
I think as a fight though.
Yeah.
Like if you
because you moved down the first duel from Phantom Menace, I'm willing to concede.
We'll swing it. Yeah. I think I went for the shot of the glass shattering because that was fucking badass as well. I think just off that, actually, people comment your thoughts on that because, as I said, the prequels there are a lot of duels and for very different reasons in every single one. I just think with the Windu stuff, he has to have his moment, and I get with the 4 Jedi going with him. It's like wrestling, isn't it? Like 4 people go in the Royal Rumble. Okay, throw out quickly, just have them go with each other. But I think Spielberg directed rumor directed the Kenobi Grievous bike chase sequence. That's always been the rumor, but the rumor is that Spielberg helped storyboard, I think, not the Windu duel, but certainly the Anakin moment after of him turning, because it was going to be very different originally, and the original idea was not as good. I just want to say it. Quick shout out to the Spielberg retrospective we're doing. We don't have an episode 3 episode though, because he didn't direct it. But he almost did direct episode 6. Let's stick on Revenge of the Sith.
The next fight,
Palpatine versus Yoda. I mean, it's got some of my favorite one-liners and moments, but not the actual duel itself.
Yeah, I agree with you, and especially because this is paralleled with the other duel. I feel like the music is good here, but that's because of the other duel. So this duel, I'd say once again goes low.
Yeah.
Is it better than the previous duel with Mace Windu? No.
Oh,
is it better than Dooku's? Is it the worst duel in that film though?
No. But I kind of feel how I feel with the duel, like I know it's intercut. I never liked why Duel of the Fates is played in it. I love the fact we're in the Senate, that we're seeing the Senate being like he's just throwing around Senate pods. That is all cool.
Yeah.
A lot of the Force stuff in that duel is cool.
But a lot of the lightsaber fight isn't actually. I was going to say a lot of the lightsaber fight isn't actually a lightsaber fight in this duel
because you get Yoda destroying the guards with the fantastic, entrance. You got Palpatine Force Lightning Yoda, the amazing little green friend line, which I can't do in a voice as good as Ian McDermott. I'm sorry.
No.
And obviously Yoda sending him over. I mean, let's talk. We haven't really spoken to Ian McDermott because I guess this is the last time we can speak about him in a duel.
Yeah.
What an absolute treasure for these films, especially Revenge of the Sith. He has read the brief. He has gone in insanely. Like, I'm going to be Palpatine. I'm going to have a lightsaber. I am the Senate.
Well, actually, hold on. Technically, we can talk about him being in a duel later on.
Yeah, kind of ish. Minuscule point.
Yeah,
but it's him though, which is incredible and bonkers at the same time. But I feel the Yoda one is his weakest. For Palpatine.
Yes,
and I feel that it's a struggle for Yoda to be seen in to be the wise genius Jedi Master, the greatest ever lived, to essentially lose two lightsaber duels in two films. There's a sort of sad irony there. It's talks about how naive the Jedi, but if I'm blunt, I'm putting this in Jabba's palace. If it was me, I don't know how you feel about that. But that's
I put it between the two we've got so far, personally.
Yeah, just because I think sometimes less is more, and I think we'll get to the next one in a couple of minutes, but. What it's interweaving with, everyone wants to go back to the other scene, and I guess you could say even looking at those photos there, I know it's really fair because it's still from a film out of context. Phantom Menace, that's two people dueling on location in the desert having a fight, whereas this is CGI room with a CGI Yoda against a bloke just stabbing into greener, thinner. And I think that hampers that a lot more. But again, I love the Force stuff and the back and forth, just not the actual duel itself. And I don't like how it ends. Like,
he just kind of wiggles off, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he crawls at the ventilation shaft, which is fine. He needs to escape, but I
agree with that. I agree with that. Okay, next one, top tier.
Let's discuss this.
Let's just stick it there.
We're not going to rank it. We're going to let's talk. We'll put it here, but then we'll talk about it first.
Yes, we'll negotiate first where it's going to go. Oh my god,
memories seeing this the first time.
Just mind blown. Honestly, everything from the choreography, which has come so far when you look at like the choreography from the films. I know that Phantom Menace had some fantastic choreography in it and stuff like that with Duel of the Fates, but this is just on another level with how well it's choreographed, the setting, the context behind it, the scene beforehand, everything leading up to this duel. It had to be the biggest duel because at this point in time, it was the last Star Wars we were going to get. It was the last thing we were going to get. And therefore, this has to be the absolute downfall. This has to be the birth of Darth Vader. This has to be everything in one go. And it nailed everything from the music, the setting, all the way down to the ending. This is almost, I don't even know if you could get more perfect. I'm sure they'll find ways to hopefully improve it in the future, but this is at the moment the bar. This is what to beat.
Yeah, I mean, following up on that, as you said, the whole, I mean, you know this as a kid, but the marketing campaign for that film was this duel. I had the Mustafar play set, the Mustafar Lego. It's the poster you can see behind me. This was everything Anakin versus Obi-Wan. I guess as well, when George Lucas wrote Star Wars, and there's varying different people that say different things, but the logic is that he had a brief from episode 1 through to 9 around the time he wrote Star Wars, almost 1 or 2 lines per film, if that, maximum that. But he always had the concept of Darth Vader, turning into Darth Vader on a duel on a volcanic planet. That was in his head in the 70s, and it came to fruition in 05. And I guess because it's the last prequel film we'll get to speak about properly, the prequels were all about CGI. And there isn't a problem with that as a concept. He was radically, the early noughties, the development of CGI, the increasement of CGI, the prequels pushed that technology, digital filmmaking pushed by the prequels. And he said, it was only until Jurassic Park was made and released that he knew he could then go off and make his prequel trilogy. To me, that stems down to Mustafar.
Yeah.
If George Lucas could never have got Anakin versus Obi-Wan done right, I don't think he'd have ever considered it. And my word, the wait, the duel again. And I think this is the longest duel. Now we spoke about it already, but
Yeah,
it has to be, right? It's story wise. Yes, people comment about prequel media, you know what's gonna happen, but we need to see how Anakin turns into Darth Vader. But it shouldn't be short and sweet. As incredible as Maul versus Kenobi is in Rebels, which is actually to me one of the best ever duels. Different conversation. That's one of the best ever Star Wars duels for me, if I'm being honest. There's nothing wrong with it being longer. And again, you've got to think context. These are like the master and the apprentice, two brothers. And even the scenes when they're doing we saw is the swivel thing when it's going back and forth like that.
Yeah.
We used to do that all the time. But the logic is simple: is they have trained each other in everything. So why wouldn't they be doing the same moves? They know each other's fighting stance and style. They've trained and been in the one friend.
Absolutely perfectly matched at this point. At this point, they are beyond perfectly matched. And this is the only thing that you could see as a downside, but this is a downside to all the prequel stuff. With the next lightsaber duel that comes up, which is kind of the original lightsaber duel, it's so basic and it's so kind of like kendo, whereas this is full on sword play. You've got acrobatics, you've got everything, and it does make you kind of wonder, kind of like, well, you almost kind of went too far with the prequels with how well done the lightsaber fights were. We're not complaining from kind of that side of things, but you can understand why people would kind of not enjoy them as much. Personally, for me, I think this is first place. I genuinely think this is first place, and it needs a discussion, because as much as I absolutely love the Maul fight with the two of them in Phantom Menace, I think this one just improves on it in every single way, and it has that kind of brother connection as well. It's more on personal terms.
100%. And oh no, let me move. There we go. And this is that fight. Looking at the two there's a reason why they are the two that everybody speaks about. Not just the fact that our generation's grown up with them, but one thing that's, I think, really underrated. No one underrates John Williams' scores, but we both kind of criticize Duel of the Fates being used in Palpatine versus Yoda. The fact it's not used in Anakin v Obi-Wan to me is far more important, because not only does John Williams not use Duel of the Fates for that, he creates, I think, 3 or 4 different songs for each interweaving period, and they are all absolutely incredible and work. And I don't think Duel of the Fates could work on a scene like that. It would feel so out of place. And it's just, again, when you get to the lava battle, you get to everything. And it, starting off on, they literally just fight for like 20 minutes. And if anyone's not seen behind the scenes, I encourage you to see them. The amount of,
it's insane.
This is why, like, Kenobi coming back, it's not just special for that, but like Hayden being with Obi-Wan, like behind the scenes, how they spoke about recording the bumps and bruises they had on each other's like fists from taking hits. These two guys went at it, I think, for like 6-7 weeks, maybe longer. Maybe it was either 6 weeks or like 6 months of prep. But for that duel, everything comes down to it. And I think that's why the other duels in this film are sort of so average or below average, that there was always going to be the one that was the focus. And it was, again, something people could criticize from this, but this is the two actors going at it with each other, forming that bond. And if we're sort of giving some free advertising to Kenobi series, one of the highlights of that series, is going to be the duel. They're going to have a duel. It's in the posters, and off interviews released at press junkets today. Today is obviously Wednesday, the 11th of May, when we're recording. They have said that the two may be older, but they are not the Obi-Wan and Vader from Episode 4. They are closer to Revenge of the Sith, which makes me think the series is going to have some fucking next level shit we have not seen.
Yeah, they're leaving a lot off on the trailers. They're leaving an awful lot off. And I'm glad of that.
Hayden in the suit, if he's doing the fighting scene in the suit's the other question. But again, those two back together again in the same show. Maybe there'll be some Clone Wars flashbacks, who knows? But I think when you look at the prequels, however different people want to think about it, in the Age of the Jedi, of course there had to be more duels than the originals and what would go on to be the sequels, because the premise is there's like no Jedi left in them, whereas there's tons. And you look at every single one we've got on screen. There's 9 there. Yeah, okay. Multiple characters do it, but in the next franchise, there's only like 4 characters, 5 characters across 6.
Yeah.
Basically. So I think that's what's interesting. I don't know if we want to sort of segue into A New Hope, traveling back to 77.
Yeah, I mean this one, and I feel like I'm gonna play the devil's advocate argument here because I know a lot of people say it's the original lightsaber duel. It has to be like somewhere near the top.
No.
I'm glad you're on the same page as me because we've come so far. There's nothing wrong with saying that duels have improved over time.
Yeah.
Of course, we understand that this first duel is incredibly important for Star Wars and the context. None of these duels would exist without this duel. But at the same time, if we look at the duel itself, and people have said it over the years and people have been criticized for saying it, I'm just going to go out and say it. It's slow, it's prodding, it's not that good. It's a war of words, it's not a war of swords. If we wanted to see a sword fight, they actually improve on it and they know what to do in the next 2 films at least to kind of expand on that. This one, I don't want to put it in Sarlacc Pit. I want to put it in Jabba's Palace purely because of that context that it's due. But it could easily slip into Sarlacc Pit. We improved upon it. It's bettered by pretty much every single lightsaber duel that follows it. So it's a difficult one.
Here's where I am. So, as a lot of people will say about A New Hope, if I'm being fundamentally honest, and this is unfair, probably, I feel like I respect A New Hope more than I enjoy it. I feel that's always been the way. Of course, we don't have stars about it, and that is a humongous point of it. Soundtrack, everything that falls in space is because of A New Hope. The main thing George Lucas changed. So the concept for this was that lightsabers would be burdened as heavier weapons, that there would be a toll to fighting with them, and they are heavy. As in, not for the actors to be heavy, they are heavy for the characters to wield and duel. And that's why that whole fight, it's like underhand, isn't it? If it was like tennis terms, like there's never, not that you need them to be running around, jumping around, doing all that stuff, but it never feels like a duel. It's just like prodding at each other for a couple of minutes.
It bases itself off of like very basic kendo, isn't it? It's not even like a proper sword fight. It's and just kind of like tapping blades. Yeah.
And because it had the Japanese cinema influence, which I again understand and respect, that's why to me this doesn't work. But then you have to think logically. George Lucas in the next film would then go on to change it and say, not you know what, this doesn't count. The logic is there to a point, but it is not like it was in this. And I'm going to seriously say I need a stunt double for Alec Guinness, of course not.
Yeah.
But I think the way that the franchise has moved on, even getting to the sequels as well. Episode 4 is one that's left behind. I'm with you on Jabba's Palace. I still think it serves its purpose for the film.
Do we put it?
I put it at the top end of Jabba's Palace out of respect.
I would,
because without it we don't have a list, like in terms of obviously Star Wars, but it's tricky because I don't. The idea is there, and it's executed again. People say 1977 this was groundbreaking. This was that. I understand all of that. But actually, a lot of people, when they speak about that 97 all talk about the trench run more so than the lightsaber duel, if I'm being really honest.
To be fair, this is honestly, this is, for me at least, probably the last lightsaber duel that will end up anywhere near the bottom. So I feel like top end Jabba's Palace, I feel, is a fair shout.
Yeah, it's just out of respect for it because without it, and again, what I'd say to Lucas is that if it didn't work for him personally, and he's done a sort of time of Star Wars, something was set right, and later on this year, in a few weeks, we'll have another Darth Vader Kenobi duel to talk about, which might. Here's a good thing, and this is I think it was Joseph Scrimshaw who's on a really good Star Wars podcast said this many years ago. Every time a new Star Wars film would come out, he would rewatch the previous one and know that tomorrow, i.e. when the film's out, it has changed his view on what he's just watched because there is something that's come after to essentially enhance or dehance or whatever affect it. And that's what I've been like with the Kenobi series. That doesn't matter what happens in that next show, the lore changes. People crying, saying, "Oh, Darth Vader says a presence I've never felt since." Turns around, walks away. He didn't say since Mustafar when he got chopped in, in pieces and set on fire. He never finishes a sentence. And the logic that the new series is going to break the law is 100% incorrect.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious to see what they do, because it is a very big thing to have Kenobi duel Vader again. But you got to think, how does Kenobi know he's Vader? How does Vader know Kenobi's alive? There's so many weaving things which I really hope they explore. And again, maybe it'll enhance what we get in A New Hope. Who knows?
Who knows?
I don't know. But segueing aside from Kenobi.
Next duel. Oh, finally we have a lightsaber duel with Luke. Well, the first one of two that he's involved in, I guess, that we've considered for this. This one, now this is intriguing. This is intriguing because I really like this duel. I think this duel's fantastic. I think it improves on the duel that was previously before it. And I think the context of it as well, and even the ending having one of the greatest film twists of all time being the finishing blow. I would say this is, I'd say top end Jedi Temple. I'd say better than the Grievous fight. And the only reason why it doesn't get into that top tier is because I genuinely, and I mean, this is moving on to the next one as well, I genuinely believe that Return of the Jedi one is a step above it again. So, yeah. No,
I'm with you. This was interesting. Similar how, Anakin in 2, he's not ready yet. He's got to lose. Obviously, it's not riffing off this. Obviously, they did the whole chopped hand, but the logic is that Luke is arrogant, goes up against Vader when he's got no right to go up against Vader.
Absolutely no right.
Especially when you don't know the twist is coming. You got to think that mindset. And imagery's fine. Lawrence Kasdan's directing's fine. But the what makes Empire Strikes Back so fantastic isn't just a duel. It's the story. It's the character arcs. It's how people are left. Like Han Solo with the Carbonite, everything. This duel, I think, is very good, as you said. I think is very, very good. But it's been bettered in its own trilogy by a country mile. And that sort of spoils where we're going to put the next one, probably.
Yeah.
But for what it's done, and I still think there's some good stuff in there. Why don't let me do it? There we go. I just I don't even feel like anything's missing. I think the twist is so perfectly done, which is an understatement to talk about that twist. That it kind of overshadows the duel.
Yeah, people don't really talk about the duel as much. The duel is fantastic. I want to point that out. Like, actually, if we're talking about ranking it purely based on the duel without any context thrown into it, it's still probably ending up in that tier anyway. It is really, really well choreographed, and it's a big step up from the first film.
Precisely that part. That's a big jump.
But
it's not Return of the Jedi.
Stick it up there. Stick it up there.
Okay, let's. Now, Return of the Jedi. I think we did Battle of the Brackets years ago, and Vader's redemption won best moment. Now, the redemption technically isn't the duel; it's obviously the ending of the duel. Yeah. But what's fantastic? I mean, we just spoke about 5. Luke's not ready; he's gone in arrogantly. 6 is, the ending. We have to duel each other. We have to. I don't want to kill him. I want to convert him to well. Yoda says you're gonna have to kill him, mate. So, this one's interesting because obviously you got the Emperor watching nothing, exactly from a distance. But what makes this one work is how Luke won. And it's not just because he won, it's because he went there to kill Darth Vader. That scene, the music, this again, John, we spoke about John Williams a lot today. The soundtrack in episode 9 of Luke turning to the dark side, going for the kill, just repetitively hitting at him.
Yeah, it's one of those moments as well where you realize that him kind of like the vision that he had previously was coming true from episode 5, that he would strike down Darth Vader and he would replace him.
And this is what makes it work. This is the duel that I would say is the best duel in the of this. I'm not saying it's the best duel of the series. What I'm saying is, in regards to story, this is the best duel in the saga, which is why to me it sits up on Theed Palace now.
Where
and to me you get the follow-up where, and this is where it's going to get tricky because do I look at choreography, visuals, story, stunts?
I'm gonna go ahead and say, if you're looking at the actual choreography and stuff like that, then it's right where it is. If you're going for story, I'd put it in the middle.
And that's kind of how I feel, because the purpose of what happens is so important. And again, like, you know, he was hiding at one point until Vader.
Does that mean we switch it though? That's the question. I personally would put it in the middle.
It's like talking thoughts out loud. Like,
yeah,
you know, the moment Vader says, he's just such a good way. It's like sister. Like, it's a really hesitant. Like, the guy's just found out he's got a daughter now. He's only like, and it's like sister. It's like, if you won't join me, perhaps she will. That moment is like, I still get goosebumps when Luke comes out, no screaming, lightsaber duel, all of it.
I'd say put it.
I think it's got to go above. I think it has to go above Duel of the Fates.
It
purely because of story,
but it doesn't get above.
No, not episode 3 to me still. And listen, you know, people might disagree with that. That's fine, but that's the one where he turns him into Darth Vader. So, you know, that's a pretty big story in its own right. But I just think, obviously, you know, one of these is 20 years younger than the other. I just think I've got to say it as well. I know it's technically not the duel, but the scene after. But the Darth Vader really well, I guess because it hampers both of those films. But the special edition switches to Return of the Jedi on the Blu-ray of that Darth Vader on episode 6 doesn't help the redemption scene. And I know a lot of people flagged that up, so I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Here's where it's going to get fun. Let's talk Star Wars sequels.
We've only got 3 left.
3 left. I think it's been quite fun paced. I'm actually ready for a pretty hefty discussion on this one. If I'm going to be
I mean, okay, let's break this one down. So this fight starts off with being
Finn and Kylo.
Finn and Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
So it starts off with 2 completely different people dueling, and sure, in the previous duel before, we have the duel between Dooku and Obi-Wan and Anakin, and then it changes to being Dooku versus Yoda. But this duel literally,
it's the same one. They enter the forest together.
Yeah, they're in the forest together. She picks up the lightsaber and stuff like that. It's not like a duel is immediately kind of like it's mid-duel. It counts. He's about to strike him down. He goes in for it.
Yeah.
This one's an odd one and an interesting one because for me it's mid-tier. I don't think it's that high. I think it was cool, and I'll be honest, the shot from the trailer was phenomenal, but it didn't even use in the film of him kind of staggering through the forest, and then the of like the little bits coming off lightsaber and stuff like that. The fact that Rey's able to, and this is what people talk about when it comes to prequels, is Rey and Mary Sue and stuff like that, is a discussion that's been going on since these films first came out. And I feel like this is kind of the pinpoint where they go, look, she picks up a lightsaber and straight away she's straight into the battle and stuff like that.
It's nonsense.
For me personally, I'm not of that kind of thinking, but at the same time, is it as good as the lightsaber fights that come from these sequels? I think it sets it up. It sets up the story nicely. It does a good job. I'd stick it in Maz's castle at the top.
Okay, so sorry, I wasn't excited then.
You're sticking it higher, aren't you?
To me, this is the best one from the sequel trilogy.
No.
Sequel trilogy for me. Not best scene, but best duel. That's my big thing. But we'll get to that. It's fascinating because obviously I remember the trailer now, the teaser, which was unbelievable. There was a bit of context. Was he Kylo? You know, I really hate the whole Mary Sue thing. It's such bollocks. But they just scream and cry over nothing. Like, it's like, oh look, in the space of this is what gets them going. Are you ready for this one? So in the 1 year between episode 5 and 6, Luke with no mentor discovers like force choke, builds a lightsaber, builds everything, no books, no train, no nothing. So it's all good for him. But God forbid Rey, with the entire sacred text, learns stuff, and the grown men are fucking ripping their eyes out like she's a witch. So yeah, sorry, I just wanted to get in there.
Yeah.
The 7 duels. So this is my thing with this. So obviously, I think we inherently knew deep down Rey was going to be the Jedi. I don't think I was unfair to assume at the time.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, a lot of people predicted beforehand it was going to be a female lead. So
poster attributes. John Boyega. Listen, I said John Boyega Finn stuff. He absolutely. I mean, now JJ has it. Oh, he was Force sensitive after all. Thanks for telling us, JJ. He should have stayed as a Jedi still. I've got no issue with that. I loved him to be a Jedi as well. I think it was cheap the way they did it at 9. And to not develop that, at least maybe in 8 as well, if I was going to give a slight Last Jedi criticism.
Yeah.
But, we know he was going to lose to Kylo because we need to see the Jedi. But the actual duel itself, and this is the sequels as a whole, but certainly 7. Obviously, at the time, the goal was be the opposite of the prequels.
Yeah,
and that was the brief. You can't talk about the prequels, and people forget that. People pretend that George Lucas and that whole cast didn't get abused 24/7 when they did. Yeah. So when Disney bought the rights, they're like, "Oh yes, Disney, our saviors. Don't make it anything like the prequels, please." And then they cried that it wasn't like the prequels. It was too much like the originals. Bloody hell! And this Jaws to me is the best of both worlds from prequels and originals. You have in this fight people just trying to kill each other, and I sort of mocked the whole prequels were a dance earlier, right? And this is how I felt this because I think it's really interesting. You watch this whole scene, obviously Kylo's just killed his dad. Solo. He's got pot shot by Chewbacca and dripping blood. The first bit of blood I think we see in Star Wars in a very long time, I'm going to add. And obviously he's losing the plot. Finn just wants to kill him. Rey just wants to kill him. He wants to kill them. And sometimes it doesn't need the overly explanations, but the actual dueling itself, when you rewatch it, they're trying to kill each other. And it sounds really stupid, but listen, I love the swinging and the prequels and all of that. But this is choreographed as a fight. And it works so well to the point, obviously, Finn gets absolutely massacred, which is fantastic. And that sounds really grotesque. But when he turns his blade into him, it's like that was really cool. And the way, again, I'm going to say they shot it, the forest, we've not really had that with Star Wars, a small forest for a lightsaber duel. But writing out Finn to bring in Rey as the Jedi, I think was very well done in that scene. A lot could go wrong with that scene.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say John Williams again coming in the King, the Force theme, everything for Rey, accepting her destiny, accepting the blade, everything. But just her and Ren just going at each other is just incredible. So I know I've waffled and I've just described.
You're trying to convince me I'm still putting it top end Maz's Palace or Maz's
Palace. To me, this is bottom end Theed Palace.
No, not a chance.
I'm willing to meet with the Jedi Temple. This is 100% much better than Grievous as a minimal discussion. You put them side by side, and yes, one is amazing with me.
If I wanted to watch a lightsaber duel again, I'd watch Grievous.
But would you say it's better?
Yeah. I feel like I would.
Story, character,
story wise, no, you'd say Force Awakens, but the duel itself.
The duel itself. I mean, he loses 3 of his arms in like 5 seconds.
Yeah, but it's the fact that he's coming at him with the spinning blades. That's just
is cool. Which is very
so
cool.
It's the cooler. It's whether you pick the cooler fight or the
I honestly, I think that's the Force Awakens.
I'm happy putting it in Jedi Temple, but only if it goes behind Grievous.
I can't put it ahead of. It's just. It's not. You can't. I mean, you got to think when you get the whole bridge sequence as well with using the Force, accepting the Force, setting up what would come. Kylo, you need a teacher.
Okay,
I think this again. As you mentioned setup. Sorry, I've spoken for a while, but setting up what is to come. This does it. Maybe what setup doesn't get fairly not resolved.
Well,
improved.
Let's actually for that one. Let's come back to it. Okay, we kind of have an area where
it's minimum there right now, but
it's minimum there right now. I think it's staying there.
That just looks so wrong, though.
Well, you're gonna hate what I'm saying then, because I think that this next fight in The Last Jedi, and I know you love this fight. I quite enjoy this fight as well. I was so hyped for this when watching it. It's one of the moments of the film that I'm really looking forward to.
They were cheering at midnight. Don't let people. You were in that room with me.
I was in that room. It was hype. It was really hype. And this fight was the one thing where it was just the biggest cheer. And it's the one thing that still kind of gets me when I'm watching this film. I want to get to this scene as quickly as possible, in the same way that in the Phantom Menace, you want to get to the pod racing, then you want to get to Veed's Palace. Like, this, for me, is top-end Jedi Temple. It could even creep into Veed's Palace for me. I really like the throne room scene. I think it's one of the best scenes
had me worried
in the entire sequels.
I thought you were about to sort of like stab me in the heart. And
No. I think and this is why the Force Awakens one goes down.
I'll take that.
You'll take that. I think it's either top Jedi Temple or bottom end Veed's Palace, because honestly, the choreography in this scene, the setup, the build up, the tension that's brought forward, the fact they kill off a major, or what would have been set up for a major villain going into it, the direction, the color scheme, everything. Fighting a Sith Lord or with a Sith Lord in, a red room. It's phenomenal. Everything about that scene is so well done. And I even think the harshest of critics can't even hold a candle to this scene. So it's either top-end Jedi Temple or bottom-end Feeds, and I'm happy with either.
So this is interesting. I thought this was going to be not scathing. I thought this would be like Maz's Castle, if I'm being honest. Now, to me, the throne room scene is like probably in the top 5 scenes in the history of Star Wars.
I think it's the best from the sequels, honestly.
And this is what's fascinating. So, because to me, I view the scene more from the story purpose than the duel, because I think the duel is fantastic.
But now that we're bringing both context and fighting into it, when you think about it, it's got to be up there. It has to be.
It's this. The way it works in the film is that I don't know the term for it, but you've got the stuff on the ship where they're about to go to Lightspeed. You've got the execution for Finn and not Poe, for Finn and Rose. Obviously, I said Poe's with the whole Lightspeed stuff. Rey and Ren in this, and what's beautiful about this film. I know that Tom said some things in the ranking video, and me and him put it at number 1, which I'm happy to say. Up to that, the whole film has built to that point. And it is that moment where I never thought Snoke would die. I thought he'd be the big bad, he'd be Darth Plagueis, it'd be this, and the whole hashtag Your Snoke Theory sucks and all that sort of stuff. Everyone theorized about The Last Jedi for so long, so much longer than normal, because everyone assumed Episode 7 would be safe, but the comparisons would be the Episode 7 would be the safe one, 8 will be the one that is the Empire, which to me it is. Now, I didn't think it'd be as high as this, because I'm a bit of not a psycho, but because, and I love this. This is one of my favorite Star scenes, because they're joining the Praetorian Guards. I never felt like there was any threat to Rey and Ren, which is what separates it. And now this is the conversation: am I looking at it as a duel or as
a threat? Doesn't need to be as high.
And this is what I'm thinking.
It feels like suddenly it's the entire room turning on them, and they are trained.
It's the one thing that I don't think. I mean, I'll put it in Theed Palace to begin with, because like you, lower end, and just to talk about this scene, because I mean, we kind of spoke at the start, like remembering this as kids. Obviously, like again, like we were like adults with the sequels. That we were at the Leicester Square IMAX. Me, you, Marco. I forgot your friend's name. JJ. And the atmosphere there was unbelievable. Now, in the UK, we don't do cheering at films. I know it's a bit more common now than it used to be in the UK. You get it for some, and it can be frustrating or it can be okay, but very different to American screenings. That's the first ever time I cheered at a cinema screen, because I was so engrossed in the story and up to that moment. Not just killing Snoke, it's the whole way the scene builds up. Strike your true enemy, pulls him through, catches the blade, Rey and Ren, everything. But what sells it to me is the scene after. And I think this is where it said, like, I don't know, I think I've shown you, I've got a Mondo art print for that scene, which is unbelievable. And I've never spent, it's like an actual art piece. I've never bought that before for anything. It's what makes the scene work is that the following moment is the fact that Kylo doesn't take a hand. He has gone off to be the big bad. She's going off to be the hero. She is nothing. She's from nothing. He is the supreme leader. That moment is in which you should have a very simple Episode 9. You have the bad guy versus the good guy. at the highest peak. It's like the
Yeah.
reversal Vader. He could have had his redemption, but he's enhanced and become the villain.
Well,
Supreme leader.
loads of people suddenly had their theories after that point of like, will Rey turn to the dark side? Will he turn to
Yeah.
good? Because they're
And they
conflicting
could have.
and they're both flying
Yeah.
at different directions. Like,
And it could have worked. They could have done it. And you know, there's 100 million conversations about why 9 was the way 9 was. Writing, pre-production, carries, passing, even code. They did it. So many ifs and buts. But for 8, the merit I stand. I know I'm just talking about Ashley because I really want to talk about Ashley. It's his 5th anniversary, but I'm with you. Bottom in the 3 palace. I can't put it above what's in front of it.
No, neither can I. But it is the best.
It's got a great score.
It's the best the sequels have to offer.
It is the best scene from the best Star Wars sequel, and to me, the best Star Wars film. If I'm being really honest. I know that's controversial. Hot. What is it? Hot take. All that stuff. But I'm glad you put that there.
Does Rogue One count as a Star Wars sequel, or a prequel? It's technically a prequel, isn't it? So it's like,
are they all prequels to 7, 8, and 9, or are they all sequels to the Phantom Menace? Who knows?
There you go.
Rogue One should literally be an episodic title. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah,
and we're getting Cassian. It's getting its own prequel series. The prequel gets a prequel series, which is a mighty credit. And now we get to talk about the Rise of Skywalker. I mean, this is interesting because this is the newest one. And I don't know if I've ever spoke to you about this, which is really random. How do you find this scene?
I mean, I'll put it this way. I've still, to this day, only watched this film once. And I do need to, at some stage, go back and actually just sit down and just not give it a second chance. I just need to process it. I just need to sit down and just watch it again and just process it. And everyone, I think everyone knows that this film, apart from, I think maybe Charlie, is a failure. This film, it didn't work. And I don't know if that was because you've got hype going in this direction and expectations kind of going to meet it and stuff like that. And you just can't actually catch up. This duel was the kind of only one in this entire list where I didn't know it kind of straight in my head. I had to actually rewatch it because I've only seen it maybe once or twice. Without the context, it's a mid-tier duel. With the context, it's still a mid-tier duel. For me, it's so disappointing because I definitely can't have it higher than the Force Awakens one. But I definitely got to have it higher than the other two. It goes into that slot. I can't put it in Jedi Temple because even though the choreography is nice, the setting is pretty awesome as well. It just has a weird vibe to it, this fight, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting because when I was rewatching them more recently, it's the first time I've seen 9 since the cinema. It's the 5th time I've seen it total, and I keep joking to everyone that I've never booked 4 films in advance before it comes out ever again. 4 screens of a film, sorry, I'm going to say. I really like this duel, but there's something eerie about it. I really dig the location that we've got the wreckage of the Death Star 2 as a Star Wars location.
As a Star Wars location, straight up, it's fantastic.
And it's a practical duel. It's 2 actors on set acting, and we get the Force jumps. It feels very prequelish to a little point, doesn't it? When you get the insane jumps, it feels so weird for a trilogy that's been very. Not like low key, but for one that hasn't explored that sort of stuff as much. But
yeah,
there's something, and I feel like without being harsh and getting into anything in the room, obviously Carrie's passing is probably the biggest production hurdle 9 had, which is understandable. And I think in the pivotal scene, and I'll still maintain this, what they did with her character, what they were able to do, taking into account real life events and respect of the family, not recasting, all that kind of stuff. They did a fantastic job bringing her into the story with Kylo, albeit they couldn't do it much, but I think they did the best they could. What makes this feel weird is when you get the whole Rey killing Kylo thing. Now, I understand why, I understand the healing, but for the final ever lightsaber duel, it never quite fully felt like a precursor to what could be a final duel. And I know it's the halfway point of the film.
It can't. I personally can't put it higher because not like you said, it's the halfway point of the film. But
Where would you put it in Maz's castle, though? I mean, I'm with you. I'm with it in Maz's castle.
I
feel it's like in the middle. I feel like it's middle because I think it's better crafted, choreographed, and directed than the others.
I put it top end of Maz's castle.
Top end of Maz's castle. That's fine. That's the same as me because I think there's some incredible stuff to the making of this, to its production, again, all of that stuff, and it has got a place with its story, but because they're unable to probably do the story they wanted to do because of, and it's more than just Carius passing. Colin Trevorrow go. You had Rian Johnson declining to write the script for 9 when he originally was signed on to direct and write 8 and just write 9. And it all became down to the production window. No one was given enough time. Disney had strict deadlines. And guess what? If they'd delayed the film, COVID happened 3 months after. We probably might have only seen it last year, which is also insane.
At least it would have been not rushed. They could have had time to fix what could have been, genuinely.
Yeah, and it's the biggest what if of Star Wars to me is 9, and I always feel it's like a cursed production. And Star Wars had a lot of cursed productions in those films, but even 7, what you like JJ's broken back and Harrison Ford's leg in the door. So much bonkers Star Wars stuff, but it's weird because I think it's a great duel, and again, like Daisy and Adams dueling are great. Again, I love what they did with 7. And I've said about the sequels, for all its criticisms,
the 3 duels that have a good.
Yeah, and I don't think they get slaughtered as much, but people just decide not to talk about them because they don't want to, because they don't want to praise it.
Just in general, looking at this list, because you can easily see there's a lot of duels in the prequels. There's kind of not many.
If there
duels.
wasn't, we probably wouldn't be able to have a list. It'd be a top 10.
There's not many duels in the kind of the original saga, and then like you've got not many duels in the sequels as well. Do you think an extra duel in that final film would have saved it or kind of helped it along a bit? Possibly.
Without doing, I get all that sort of logic. Yeah. I would have loved, and I know this isn't the original concept for Trevorrow Star Wars, Rey to have had a double blade lightsaber, which obviously you get that weird Darth Rey thing, which I don't really, being honest, but I understand why people love it. I'd have loved that, which they teed up. The fact she has a staff in 7, and again, this is my criticism, without going at JJ too much. I feel this film is just a mess of all parties rather than just JJ Abrams and the producers. I feel it's a bit of everything. Bob Iger as well is involved in that problem. So when they're his own concepts that aren't coming through, that he set up in 7, it's one thing for Johnson to switch around, but nothing stopped him. I mean, why do you need to have Rey having the Skywalker family lightsaber when it's been snapped in half in 8? It's things like that kind of get me in. What I'd have loved, if there had been a final duel, I really love the yellow saber that Rey has at the end, her own lightsaber. That's really cool. I'd love that in a final fight, or again, the double-bladed. And it comes down to Kylo Ren. I don't like his redemption arc. And again, where you spoke about in your videos, where 8 finishes with Hux staring at Kylo, all of how 8 set up 9, and we just didn't really get follow through with any of it.
No,
I just wish
we got nothing.
Yeah, Kylo Ren's such a tricky character because Ben Solo's in there, and I think the scene of Harrison Ford is unbelievable in that film. That's one of the best scenes of that film, and they somehow kept that quiet too. But been missing something. And again, is it because outside of Star Wars, Adam Driver's probably one of the he's my favorite actor, but he's probably one of the best working actors right now in the world. And it's like, how do we get Adam Driver in it more? Let's stick him back in a fucking helmet from 2 films ago. So yeah, sorry to turn to an episode 9 review, but I think it's fairly placed there.
I think we've actually done a decent job with that tier list. I think that there is fair places. I know we had a few arguments in there. If you were to move one,
badly, but we can discuss them and actually go back and forth and come to a reasonable conclusion.
Would you say that was a reasonable conclusion?
I think so. I mean, I think because I was so scared you were going to think 8's duel should be in the
No, 8's duels.
I was fighting for 7 for my life.
No. You didn't have to. You didn't have to.
But I still do think that's better than
no.
I won't let it go. As I said, this is our official ranking. It's 2-team effective, and I'd say what will get people. I mean, actually, I'm curious if there's any. We've only got one in the Sarlacc pit, which is Yoda and Dooku. Which I don't think that'll be uncommon, but I know it does have its fans. So if you are a fan of that, let us know. Or even if you think we've been unfair with with the other Yoda fight.
Mm.
God knows we're not against Clone Wars. The Count Dooku's pajamas fight.
Yeah.
So yeah, comment your thoughts on all of these. This is our official ranking, our channel ranking. It's the first time we've done it as a duo, rather than having individual lists and swapping it round. We're merging it, and I think it's gonna be pretty fun. 15 duels as well, a lot of Star Wars duels. But I said, comment below, press the link in the description, do your own tier list, tweet it to us, send it to us. We'd love to have a chat with that. Please do that. And of course, if you like Star Wars, hit the subscribe button. Kenobi is 2 weeks away at the time of this video coming out. We're all excited for that. As I said, there is going to be another duel, and hopefully one that can make it to Tayte Palace, if that does come to it. So yeah, comment, subscribe, like it. As I said, we really appreciate it. And Star Wars fans, you're always welcome here. We love talking Star Wars. Star Wars isn't going away anytime soon. Not just Kenobi. We've got Cassian and the women and the children too. So a lot more happening over the next few months. Of course, Mandalorian Season 3, Star Wars Celebration. But let's talk about something up and coming. We've kind of gone in for the kill on.
Well, here's my question I pose to you: if you were to reboot, say for example, Count Dooku, who would you choose? Who would you choose for that character role in Attack of the Clones as well? Because there's a lot of characters in that film that are either introduced or we can expand upon from our first reboots of Hell. So this is the series where we recast the film, and it is a reboot from Hell. Obviously, we don't want these films recast. We accept them for what they are. But if we were to go into that scenario, how would we do it if we had everything to play for? So tune in on that day and you'll find out what our choices are.
And it is to the day, the 20th anniversary of Attack of the Clones. So not a better way to celebrate it than to kind of reboot. It's kind of harsh but fair. But at the end of the day, it's just a bit of fun. So join us for Attack of the Clones. That's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, we'll have Revenge of the Sith the Monday after as well. We'll have different people on for each of those. So stick around and they'll be on the way. And if you enjoy more than Star Wars, if you're a fan of film, don't leave anytime soon. Ironically, we're about to plug a TV show that turns into a film. Twilight Zone, the movie, coming Tuesday the 17th of May. We're running a Steven Spielberg retrospective. We plugged it already today. We've mentioned him a few times. Tonight is very integral to Star Wars, if you really want to look into things, people. But we're going through all of his films, starting with Duel all the way up to the Fablemans coming out this year. So join us every Tuesday. And yes, if you're thinking, don't want the Twilight Zone is, don't worry. Indiana Jones is the week after, so you don't have to wait too long for something you do know. Tayte, where can people find us as well about any last minute videos that might pop up?
People can find us everywhere. So you can follow us on Twitter at cinema_savvy. You can find us on Facebook, just type in Cinema Savvy, and you can find us on letterboxd.com/Cinema Savvy. You can also go into the TeePublic link in the description and pick up a variety of different t-shirts with various different designs.
Absolutely. Everybody, please check that out. Tayte, it's been quite fun. Very civilized, in the opposite words of Obi-Wan Kenobi, for this one tonight. And as I said, if you enjoy this, people, tier list videos, we're fairly new to them as a channel. Comment any other Star Wars tiers you'd love to do. Would you like to see us talk lightsaber duels for Rebels or Clone Wars or the other Star Wars shows? Anything else? Any ideas you'd love to do? Let us know. We'll reply to those comments, as we said, because it's a lot of fun talking Star Wars. We can do it in a dignified, respectful way, and that's the way it should be. So, as always, thank you all for watching, and be sure to join us on the next one. Take care.